Well, good evening. I'm Lee Anderson. Welcome to our first debate of the election season. Tonight, we're joined by the two candidates running for Bend to mayor, Chris Piper and Melanie Kebler. Before the show, we flipped a coin to see who goes first. Chris Piper won and will go first with opening remarks. Remarks are 1 minute. Chris Piper, you get us started tonight. 1 minute.
Great. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, KTVZ, for hosting this. I'm running for mayor because Bend is, at this critical time, needs a proven leader who will bridge the partisan divide and work collaboratively, and who will listen, lead, and be accountable to you. There's a great example when I was on council in 2019 around the McKay Whitewater Park. It was an unsafe area in 2019 because there was unregulated parking. An email came to Council Hall from a business owner requesting council to come down and take a look at what was happening. I went down the next day to listen to that business owner, and we saw campers extending their stay. We saw defecation on property. We saw siphoning of water, creating a very unsafe area for employees to come and go from work, and also business owners having to spend money they didn't have on security. As a result, we put together a collaborative effort pulling together the stakeholders. And today, when you go down to Whitewater Park at McKay Park, you will see a 4-hour parking limit and an unloading and loading zone, a very clear area.
Thank you very much, Chris Piper. Melanie Kebler, 1 minute.
Thank you, Lee. I'm Melanie Kebler, and I'm running for mayor because I love this city where I grew up, and I want to make sure that Bend's future is one where everyone here can thrive. I'm a Bend High grad, a mom, an attorney, and since 2020, I've been working hard as your city councilor. I've worked to tackle the housing crisis, find collaborative solutions on homelessness, and make sure our transportation system is safe and connected. As a former prosecutor and victims' rights attorney, I've worked to protect the public and help people have their voices be heard. I know how to work with people with opposing viewpoints to find a reasonable compromise, but I'm not afraid to make tough decisions. I'm ready to lead Bend as our next mayor. We've been through a lot in the past 2 years, and right now is a really critical time for our city. We need serious leadership right now to make sure we're meeting the challenges we're facing as we grow. As your mayor, I'll work hard to make sure that Bend is a city that works better for everyone, and I'd be honored to have your vote. Thank you.
Chris and Melanie, thank you very much. Time to get into the questions now. You ready? Ready to do this? So are we. Okay, here's the first question. How can you balance the desires of the people who want homeless camps cleared from public roads with those who choose to be homeless? Chris Piper, you get things started. 1 minute.
Well, in order to balance this situation, one, it's a very complex solution. We have ordinances on the books right now, such as the right-of-way policy, that basically says that we should be able to clear those areas if it's assessed by the police department that it's an unsafe area and creating impact on local businesses in the area. So we need to go and assess those areas. We need to also make sure that the housing that is there is for those that truly want housing and to transition back into society. The balance is a very difficult situation for the city at this time, but we need to work collaboratively with our county. We need to work collaboratively throughout the region. We need to utilize our Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council to find that balance in the area and to be able to put together a forthright strategic plan that addresses the issue with key performance indicators so that our community understands what the end result is going to be and how we're going to measure success going forward.
Chris Piper, thank you very much. Melanie Kebler, same question.
Thank you. So I think we can all agree that it's unacceptable how many people are living on the streets of Bend. It's not safe for those folks, and it's not safe for the people around them either. That's why I've made this issue a priority on council. Unfortunately, previously to when I was elected, our local leaders have really not done much to address this really complicated problem. This council in the past 2 years has created an emergency shelter to keep people from freezing to death on our streets, created a navigation center, increased our shelter space, created a tiny home village, and done all that we can to make sure we're actually providing solutions that work. We also created a plan for a collaborative joint office on homelessness with our county partners and our other cities in the region, because this is not just a Bend problem. And in conclusion, we're working right now on a camping code that's actually going to allow us to make clear rules for how people can and can't camp in Bend.
Very good. Thank you very much. Chris Piper, you have 30 seconds to either rebut or to expand on what you had to say earlier there.
Yeah. I'm hearing what Councilor Kebler is saying. However, what I'm not hearing addressed in this very important issue is the impact that the homeless is having on our businesses. The businesses do not have a seat at the table. The businesses have not been heard. I have been campaigning since January, and the businesses are trying to understand why they do not have a seat at the table. Why isn't that their stories are being heard? We have businesses that are looking to relocate that will impact the economic area of Bend.
All right, thank you very much. Melanie, you also have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Lee. So today I attended the meeting of the Bend Central Business Association, where our businesses in our central district have formed a group to advocate for their needs and wants. And I was really pleased to hear from people in that group that they are feeling good about the way things are moving as far as the city's response to unmanaged encampments in their neighborhood. I've been attending those meetings for months and working with people in that area to make sure we're including their input in past policymaking as well as our future policymaking, like the camping code that we're working on right now.
Fine, thank you very much. Second question, Chris Piper. What do you do with those people who don't want to be in a shelter or on the grid, so to speak?
Well, we need to understand the reasons why. Right now, we have council that tended to come out forthright and put the cart before the horse by all of a sudden putting everybody into one basket, if you will, and saying that everyone needs to be taken care of and housed. But having served on the board of Family Kitchen and actually going out while I was counselor in the Juniper Ridge and meeting with homeless people, there are homeless people that actually prefer to stay in their area and not to be bothered. And they are usually off-grid, and they prefer to stay that way. They have been able to sustain their lives that way, even though it is, in my opinion, a hard life to be in. But those are the wishes of those individuals. The other individuals that want to come back and be transitioned, we need to focus on those individuals and be able to serve them in a way that is humane and get them transitioned back into society as the best way we possibly can to meet their goals.
All right, thank you, Mr. Piper. Melanie.
So the best way to approach this problem, and the way that has worked in other cities that have functionally ended chronic homelessness, is to treat people who are living in shelters as individuals with individual needs. And that's what our strategic plan to end homelessness that we've created with the county and are working on right now will do. And that's what our coalition of homeless service providers is working on right now as well. The truth is we have over 1,000 people in our region living unsheltered every night. And that includes over 200 kids, and 42% of the people in our region that are homeless are families and children. There absolutely has to be an approach that meets people where they are and helps provide them what they need so they can get off the streets.
All right, 30 extra seconds for you, Chris. Rebut or expand?
Yeah, my rebuttal on this is, one, we are addressing the homeless issue. Back in November of 2021, I put together some ideas and thoughts which apparently now are being incorporated into the strategic plan that Councilor Kebler speaks to. However, my concern is with the ARPA funding that we've received from the state and federal, what is the sustainable funding model plan? Where is that money going to come from? And how are we going to maintain the current situation as it is today?
All right, Ms. Kebler, 30 seconds.
Thank you. So this council has done more than any previous council to tackle this problem. I've listed some of that previously. But Mr. Piper had an opportunity to work on this and to make it a priority when he was on council. He didn't. There are many other ways we can work together to find the sustainable funding to continue our efforts and really make a dent on this issue. I was actually just really happy to hear today that there are federal funds coming to Oregon to help us respond to people in mental crisis without having to use police and help them find the resources we need. We need to collaborate and continue to find those types of resources.
All right, next question. What do you say to employers who are having trouble hiring people due to the cost of living here in Bend? Chris Piper.
Well, we need to focus on workforce housing. And right now, our current council hasn't addressed that issue. Councilor Kebler brought up the issue regarding Bend Central District. We have an area in the Bend Central District that has yet to be touched or reviewed. It has been sitting there for over 6 years, and we have developers and stakeholders wanting to move that Bend Central District to create workforce housing for the city of Bend and to help retain employees and be able to have employees work and live in our community. Currently, right now, the company I am with, we have employees that can't live here. We would love to have them work here, but we can't. They don't have the affordable housing. We need to address workforce housing and bring it online. We need to focus in expanding our urban growth boundary. We have an opportunity because of the need that we currently have to make an amendment and start focusing on urban growth boundary and expanding our area so we can build in more affordable housing. Supply and demand is happening, and we need to have more supply.
All right, Melanie Kebler.
So when I talk to business owners in Bend, like Mandy and John, who own Run and Wild downtown, that's the #1 thing that they talk about when it comes to being able to get workers. It's the cost of housing in Bend. We have not built enough housing in Bend to meet the demand, and as a result, our housing prices have skyrocketed. And that means workers, nurses, teachers, even police officers who want to come here and be part of our community and work here are not able to do that. We've worked hard to make it to put policies in place to allow more homes and more types of homes to be built in Bend. And we've pushed our staff in the permitting department to help streamline that process and have an accountable public dashboard on timelines so that we can continue to improve and make sure the housing we need gets built. We've also focused on our core area and the Central District. I'm really excited that in the next few months we're going to be making decisions about our initial investments of our tax increment financing to really put things on the ground that are going to spur housing in that area.
All right, 30 seconds for rebuttal. Chris Piper.
Yeah, Councilor Kebler brings up the issue around permitting. Permitting has been an issue that has been going on for quite some time. In the 2 years that I served as council, that was a key priority to find ways to streamline permitting. Right now, city staff is completely taxed in terms of working on things outside of the core fundamentals of city government as a result of the current leadership of council. So our permitting department needs to have the resources, needs to have the staff. They're shy about 4 to 6 employees in that permitting area, and we have other models that we can look at to help streamline that permitting process.
All right, Melanie.
So for our housing needs in Bend, one of the other things we need to think about is how we plan for our future and where our housing is going to go in the city. Again, that's why I'm really excited about our core area. We can build a lot of housing there, especially with our reinvestment from the city. We're talking about moving City Hall to that area and actually building housing as part of the City Hall campus. We also put in place, and I helped approve a tax increment or a tax incentive for people to build multi-units of housing in that area with other public goods as well. So we're making good progress and need to continue to find places to build more housing.
All right. Next question. You ready for this? This is a good one. Bend is still growing. How do you feel about taller buildings being part of the landscape, Chris Piper?
Well, Lee, I'm not in favor of taller buildings. I am in favor of looking at 4 to 6 story buildings, but anything taller than that will ruin the landscape of our area in Bend. Plus, when you're looking at taller buildings, you're increasing the amount of density in those areas where people will most definitely want to have a car, and where are they going to park based on the limitations that we currently are faced right now with our parking limitations. We need to make sure that with taller buildings, that if that is something that moves through with this current council, that our fire department is supported and has the resources to reach those taller buildings. But I'm not in favor of going beyond any 6-story taller building.
All right. Melanie, how do you feel about that?
So we have land use laws in Oregon, which I support, which encourage cities to build up and in before we sprawl into our surrounding natural environment. And I think it's a core value of people in Bend that we really value our outdoor spaces and want to maintain that ability to get to great places to be outside within a short amount of time without having our neighborhoods going into our forests and deserts. I think the Bend Central District is a great place to see a lot more of that density and a little bit more of that vertical density. And I'm excited about the future planning that we're going to be doing the next 4 years and the community conversation we're going to be having about how and where we grow. It's a core value of mine that I believe that we need to focus on filling in where we can in Bend. And if we grow in a really smart and data-driven way that isn't going to impact our environment that we really love here in Bend. So I think that I don't think it's right to just say no to taller buildings or no to something in specific. I think we need to think about it as how are we planning for our future and where is the housing going to go?
All right. Chris Piper, 30 more seconds on that.
Yeah. Bend Central District, as we've brought up before, is an area that needs more recognition, needs more investment. It is an opportunity zone. We have tax incremental financing. We have stakeholders that are ready to develop. But at this particular time, the current council has actually created basically a stopgap there, because when they purchased the Rainbow Motel, which was beyond market rate at the time, the developers and the stakeholders in that area weren't informed well in advance to take part in that process.
Melanie Kebler, 30 more seconds on the issue.
Sure. So the other thing I will say about where we build our housing and how is that another fundamental belief of mine is that cities should be for people, and we should be building complete neighborhoods where we can have communities of folks from all different incomes and backgrounds interacting with each other. And as we see some increased density across the city, and then maybe some more intense increased density in the middle of our city, I think that's the kind of community we can create. And I'm really excited about that for Bend's future.
All right, moving on to our next question now. Some councilors have expressed feelings of hostility from the public. What has your experience been in the past, as both of you have been on the council? And as mayor, how can you alleviate this divide between the residents and the council? Chris?
Well, the hostility is definitely there. I started early in this campaign because of what I was hearing just as a private citizen. We have hostility in our community because our community, our members of our community, are not feeling engaged with this current city council. They do not feel that the information that they're sharing is actually being acted upon. They feel arm's length with city council. They don't feel part of the solution. We need to make sure that we are listening to our constituents. We are making sure as councilors that we are leading and that we are being accountable. We have neighborhood associations, 13 neighborhood associations that have not been feeling part of the process, and they were put in place to help provide information and provide feedback to help form policy so that our community can thrive and grow and stay together and connected. Our neighborhood associations are a vital backbone to the growth and development of Bend. We just want them to be involved, and as mayor, they will be involved.
Melanie Kebler, your answer to that question.
So everyone in Bend should feel safe, whether they're coming to speak to us at a council meeting or just going out to get their groceries. And as mayor, I want to ensure that our council meetings are a place where all differing opinions are respected and everybody can be heard. That was a big part of my job as a prosecutor, especially prosecuting domestic violence cases. Oftentimes, the victims of abuse would be hostile to me or to the system, but it was still my job to make sure that their voice was heard. And I often was able to form a relationship with people that really disagreed with me. And that's what I want to do as mayor. I want to get out in the community, as I have been as a counselor, going to my neighborhood association meetings, showing up at events, and talking with people whether they agree with me or not. Because those are the tough conversations we need to have about our future, and that's how we're going to make a great plan for how we grow as a city.
All right. Good answers. Time now for our it's time now for our rebuttal. For Chris Piper, you got 30 seconds more on that.
Thank
Getting
you, Lee.
lost here on my rundown.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I really find it surprising when Councilor Kebler says that she's been out in the community and that she's listening to our constituents. I'm not hearing that. When I've been out in the community, I made it an effort where I, as counselor, worked close to 20 hours a week to be visible, to be approachable, and to make sure that I was listening to non-like-minded individuals. Even as running for mayor, it was my goal to listen to non-like-minded individuals so we could truly understand where it is that we need to focus and bring our community back together.
All right. Melanie, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time as a counselor so far, and the ability to get out and talk to people in neighborhood associations, at community events, and elsewhere in Bend. I also enjoy interacting with people on email and making sure people feel like I've heard them, even if ultimately we don't come to the same conclusion about how we move forward. And that's what we need in a mayor. We need somebody who's not afraid to make tough decisions that might draw some criticism, because that doesn't mean that it's necessarily the wrong decision or a bad decision if it's what's best for everybody in Bend. What's important is making sure everybody understands how and why you made that decision, and that's what I'll do as mayor.
All right, very good. Next question. In light of the recent tragedy that we had in Bend, should more city police officers be used now as school resource officers? Chris?
I definitely feel that, one, if we can recruit and have a strong recruitment program and more of an incentivized program to retain our police officers, will gradually grow our police department. Right now, our police department is incredibly taxed in terms of the amount of staff that they have available to be available to the schools. I am in favor of having school resource officers. I think it's important and paramount that we have that safety component at our schools. Public safety is a core government fundamental, and we need to exercise that. However, currently right now, the City Council has not been focusing on the culture and retention of our police officers. We have a department that is having to take officers from one schedule to another schedule to make up the difference in the gap. We have a culture issue that we need to build up so that we can retain our officers.
All right, thank you very much. Melanie Kebler, how do you feel about that? More city police officers?
Well, first, I just want to say that my heart continues to go out to the victims of the shooting, their families, and anyone else who was traumatized by that event. Our police did an incredible job responding. They were there within minutes, and they did not hesitate to run in and keep our community safe. I support our police department because they're an innovative department that knows that they can always be improving. So when they came to us with a budget asking for that extra school resource officer for Caldera, we approved that along with their other requests. Their presence this past week as school started and people were understandably really nervous about safety was amazing. They really went the extra mile to help kids and parents feel safe. And I'll continue to support our police department as they continue to work on programs, be a partner in considering how and when is best to have a police response and how and when it's better to have perhaps a social worker or behavioral health response, and continue to have that safe presence in schools and take care of us as a community.
All right, very good. Chris Piper, 30 seconds more on that.
Yeah, I want to say that it is very important that we have our counselors do ride-alongs with police officers. I have been on several ride-alongs to really get to know our officers and what they're having to go through in the field. I, too, feel that it was such a horrific event at Safeway, but we have an incredible Bend Police Department that did act upon in a very immediate way and a very professional way. But I think it's really important that our counselors actually get into the car and really get to learn what our officers go through every night and each day.
Melanie, 30 more seconds on that.
Yeah, in my career as a prosecutor, I did many ride-alongs with police, and I've done ride-alongs with our local police as well. And so I've definitely seen on the scene how police work happens, and also gotten to know the police officers and our police chief. I was really pleased actually to hear recently that we've got several new hires going through training right now. So I will continue to stand up and support our police department as they work to maintain and improve, and was proud to stand and support with them after they responded to that shooting on August 28th.
All right, very good. We're already up to question number 7. You ready for this one?
Let's go.
This is a two-parter. Should Bend's mayor be paid as a full-time city employee, and are the duties of mayor too extensive as this office is currently set up? Chris Piper.
Yeah, this is a great question, and as the population of the city of Bend grows, the demands of the councilors and the position of mayor grows, this is an area that we definitely need to consider. I don't believe at this current time that we need to go straight to a full-time position. I think it's important that we look at a part-time position. And if that is actually something that is too fast, then we definitely need to have the administrative support for our councilors and for our mayor.
Okay. Melanie Kebler, same question to you now.
The people of Bend deserve a mayor who can spend the time that's needed to do the work for them that they expect. And I think it's fair as a city of 100,000 people now that the mayor spend a lot of time working with the community, talking with other councilors, working with staff, and doing the background work needed to help lead council meetings and make really good decisions for our city. In my first year as mayor, I do want to explore compensation, not just for mayor, but for the entire council. There's a lot of expectations on how we show up for our community, and compensation, whether it ends up being in the form of benefits, salary, or increased stipend, can be one way that we support our councilors in the work and also attract new and different voices to run for council in the future. That's something that we can do as a council, is form a committee to start giving us recommendations about compensation, and I want to do that in year one as mayor.
Okay, very good. Okay, 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah,
Chris
thank you,
Piper.
Lee. I think this is one area where Councilor Kebler and I agree. We definitely need to take a look at compensation for our councilors and for our mayor and make sure that the administrative support is there. I'm hearing way too much, and I'm sure from Councilor Kebler as well, that our constituents, our community members aren't feeling as being that we're being as responsive as we possibly can. I know as councilor it was very hard to keep up on all the emails and be responsive. It was difficult for me not to be able to respond as quickly as I wanted to in that fashion. So I am a total support of moving forward and looking at a compensation model for our council.
Melanie Kebler.
Yeah, I don't have much to add, just that I do want to shout out and say thank you to our city staff who have stepped up. We've created some positions of support for councilors, and they've been really instrumental in helping us stay connected with the community.
Very good. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. We're going to call this halftime. We've got more questions for you on a variety of topics. We're back in 90 seconds.